All right, guys. Hopefully the Google is going to work. Been having issues for off and on for the last, I don't know, half hour trying to get this to work. Went to a comic book convention. It's called Con, as in Wrath of Khan. This is the second show they've had. It's in a place called Meadowview, which for you guys who maybe or may not be familiar with Virginia, it's right outside of a place called Hillsville, Virginia on Interstate 77. Hillsville, Virginia is famous for having the entire town get turned into a flea market twice a year. It's coming up in about 2 weeks, I think. But anyway, it was really good. It's their second one they had, and they had it inside of an elementary school. And it was a really good show. He almost didn't go. This was the show that almost didn't happen, and I'm really glad I went. Some good stuff happened there, I guess, but for the week of work before this, for you guys who've been commenting on my videos and stuff from last week, I actually ended up driving 1,300 miles in 3 days for work. So by the time Friday came along and I was able to get home and stuff, I was just out of it. Really rough night that night because I feel like I was getting sick. I had a weird fever going on. I had some crap going through my head and stuff. A lot of it was from being exhausted, and all that stuff. And I did not have a good night's sleep. So when I woke up the next morning to go to this convention, I even had, to go to this convention. Oh, I still woke up feeling worse. Real bad fevers, burning up, couldn't cool off and all this stuff. Even took a real cold shower. And I was like, just get up and go and everything like that. So I got down there to the convention and was doing all right, and I was walking around, and two of my friends, the guy who owns the hobby shop, the comic book shop down in Galax, you can see Daryl in our Tales from the D&J hobby shop was there, and the great Tim Anderson was there also helping him with his table. But after I went around and got some of these comics and stuff like that, Tim looked at me and he was just sort of like, "You all right, man? You need to go home." So apparently it was kind of obvious I wasn't feeling good and had some stuff on my mind. But I walked around and toughed it out, got some great books. And then when I grabbed a hot dog to eat and sat down with them to talk at their table and stuff, the fever broke, man. I mean, not to get TMI here, but the fever broke, man. And I just broke into this and then one of the minor things that happened is you could tell who was at the convention that wasn't a local because of our cell phones. Something about the building or the area, like I said, it was in a gymnasium of an elementary school down there. I don't know what was going on, but everybody's cell phone just freaking died. I got told it probably has something to do with everybody getting a weak signal and it just tore up their battery. But I've never been in a place where the batteries in everybody's cell phones went dead at the same time that fast. I mean, that was one thing. Everybody was outside, trying to work their cell phones, and it was kind of odd. So yeah, good show. And I met a guy named Micheal Eury, who I will talk about at the end of the video here if you guys want to stick around for this live show if this is working. And but Howlermouse has done something here that I don't think a lot of people have seen in a long time. I paid $15 for a book. All you new guys, new subscribers, and I got like over 100 in a month. So thanks, guys, who have popped up on this channel. I'm kind of known for getting good books on the cheap, or at least good reading on the cheap. I get some keys on the cheap, stuff like that. But I went $15, but this is one I'm going to own, and I'm owning it to where I had a fever and had all this stuff on my mind and stuff like that. But I was going around saying I got the first appearance of Kraven. I knew this was not the first appearance of Kraven. I think it was John Romita the first time he drew Kraven that I was aware of. But I was going around look what I got. But I got this for $15. They wanted 20 or 25 for this, and I talked them down. But I had to get this because Kraven is my favorite Spider-Man villain. And, the death of Kraven's story in the 80s just kind of sealed the deal with him and stuff like that. But I ended up getting Amazing Spider-Man number 47 for $15. I treated myself, right? I mean, I just love that cover. John Romita Sr. To me, this is a classic cover. Yes, it has some issues. We got a little rip on the cover here. And we got some... I think this, there's a little bit of damage there and stuff like that, but well worth it. And I hardly ever treat myself, and I hardly ever get, this is one of those books that I never imagined really getting for a good price, so it was really cool to be able to get this. Spider-Man, I mean, right off the bat, I'm showing you the big boy that I got there, really, really happy with this. Really happy with this. This thing may be getting framed and hung up. You know, it's one of the few times I think a white cover really, really works. I mean, it really does pop, you know, so. And of course, you know, it's Marvel Silver Age. I'll give Stan Lee credit. Amazing Spider-Man here. You know, good stuff. So really happy to get that. Now, I don't know, about 2 years ago, I think I met Art Adams at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I took a bunch of my Art Adams books and I went down there and had him sign them. And I'm one of the few guys who actually kind of gave in late in the game and started letting artists sign books on the cover. And it just kills me because to me, that is just scribble on the cover. You know, the proper place, I'm old school, is to open the book and sign the inside of the book and stuff. So all those Art Adams books, and it's in a video somewhere, and I'm having Art Adams getting there. I'm replacing all the books that he signed for me and stuff, and not real worried about condition and stuff. So I was real happy to find this. This is Art Adams through Dark Horse Comics doing the movie adaptation of Creature from the Black Lagoon. My favorite monster and stuff. Okay, little around the corners. It's been in a box for years, so we got some issues on the back, but that's all right because the insides are pristine. This thing has never been opened. White pages, artwork, just a great adaptation and stuff. I'm seeing there's a good picture of the yeah. I mean, just look at this stuff, man. It's like it's actually the original movie, of course, is in black and white. And it was a B movie that they didn't really expect to go anywhere, and the thing took off and got 2 sequels, and it joined the ranks of the rest of the Universal monsters. But Art Adams did such a good job on this, man. Like I feel like I'm watching a colorized version of the movie. It's so faithful to the adaptation and stuff. I mean, I just freaking love it. So I was happy to do that. One thing is I got an upgrade on, you know, a lot of these books were, except for that Spider-Man, I got a lot of books, comic book lot of books to go with that and willed and dealed. So about 11 of these books were about 75 cents going with that $15 Spider-Man, and the rest of them were like about $1. So these all range from 75 cents to $1. But anyway, I got an upgrade on this fantastic little story here that Wally Wood was supposed to do, and I think they came in and got John Buscema to do it. But this is Warriors of the Shadow Realm. This is through, you know, a super special. But this was just fantastic fantasy, and I think they brought them back after their Secret Wars that they've had here at Marvel and stuff. But the artwork in this is phenomenal. It is some freaking great fantasy. This is the John Buscema that I like. Wally Wood was supposed to do this, and I know there's all kinds of lore and stuff about why he got off there and stuff. But here's a chart of Weird World. I think this was 3 issues. This is, of course, during the 70s when fantasy was big, and we had the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, but just fantastic stuff. I mean, I absolutely love this. And like I said, this is an upgrade. Conceived and written by Doug Munch and designed and drawn by John Buscema, man. But just fantastic fantasy artwork. John Buscema actually didn't like drawing superheroes, is what I've heard. He was more into like the comic strips of like Tarzan and Conan. He loved doing Conan and anything that was non-superhero. Took a chance on this one a couple years ago. I got this huge run of Jack Kirby Terminals for practically nothing at a flea market, but there was 1 issue missing. And my comic book list got rained on. And when I was doing my 1,300 miles driving around in a company car, I apparently left my window cracked in my van at work, and it rained while I was gone. So a lot of those pages got ruined. It was in my car seat. So I'm taking a chance thinking this was the missing issues. Hopefully this completes my Eternals run by Jack Kirby from the Bronze Age. Fantastic stuff. And I'm glad I got this because I passed this up twice to get other stuff. The last 2-3 times, ironically, well, not ironically, coincidentally, the last 2-3 times that I went and gotten comics, I passed this whole, you know, miniseries up, and I'm glad I did because these are in better shape than the ones I had before. But I ended up getting these. This is 1985 Longshot, kind of like Art Adams' debut. Pretty sure it was 85. Yeah, this came out, and you know, I always kind of wanted to read it. I love Art Adams' art. Of course, Longshot has the Luck Powers and Mojo World, and you know, Mr. Mojo and Spiral and all these characters that came out. So I ended up getting 2 copies of #1. And the rest of the whole series. You know, if anything, it's just fantastic artwork, and it definitely has that 80s feel. So if you're in it for nostalgia purposes and you want to make it feel like 1985 for a few minutes, this would be the book to get. Yeah, just fantastic stuff. You know, like I said, artwork wise, I'm really happy with it. And number 6. And actually I ended up getting this free. I didn't know that the 2 comics were in the bag as I was flipping through them and pulling them out. I think there's 2 of them that actually happened. So technically I got 2 of these books for free, or however you want to do it. I didn't feel too bad. The person I got this off of, I've given them a lot of business at all the flea markets and all the local conventions and stuff. So, you know, no biggie. Then I got this. I haven't cracked this open, but I love the Iron Giant movie. Love the Iron Giant movie. And this is some kind of 4-page preview giveaway. I couldn't pass that up. No idea what this is, but this is going to go in the collection. And a lot of people talk about Grant Morrison when he came to America from England. And his American debut, I think, was Animal Man #1. That Animal Man #1 was supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries. But DC said, go with it. Go with it. He did, you know, so the first 4 issues of that series was the miniseries. He did a number 5 issue to kind of a one-shot story, and it kind of ironically laid the groundwork for up to issue 26 that he's going to do, a little bit of foreshadowing and tone and things like that. And then 6 through 26 was this amazing story where Grant Morrison put himself in the story, and Animal Man ended up realizing that he was in a comic book. He took some peyote and he turned around and looked at us, the reader, and he was like, "I can see you." And he figured, you know. So it ended up being a story about a fictional character being aware that he was a fictional character, and he wanted some answers, like, why, if I'm being written by someone, why are you like putting me through all this and killing my family and making me dark and gritty? He wanted answers, and Grant Morrison stuck himself in the book and answered these questions, and it was just a fantastic ending to the story. And then somebody had to follow that, and you know, the book hung around. And didn't really get talked about, but you know, DC was kind of getting behind a little bit. I remember seeing some interviews and articles set up through like Comic Scene and stuff about what they were doing. And whoever the writer was that followed that eventually left, and Jamie Delano came on. I don't know if this is her first issue, but I had almost a full set of Animal Man, but I kept the Grant Morrison issues. And the only storyline out of that, getting to the point, that I wanted to get was the Flesh and Blood. Jamie Delano came on, and from issue 51 to like maybe 57 or something like that, did this fantastic Flesh and Blood storyline. And I wanted to get all these again. So this is part 1 of that. Just a fantastic story. The tone was different, kind of serious. It gets into things, a lot of characterization going on and a lot of fucked up shit going on. Jamie Delano is famous for some of the horror comics that this person does. Hellblazer, I mean, it wasn't for him, I don't think Hellblazer comic book would have went for 300 issues, because this person really set the tone and the standard for that book. So it was great to see him doing Animal Man. I can appreciate the storyline years later now. Okay, so I was glad to get that. I'll finish that up. Then there's one thing, sometimes you see those comic books that are so damn good, you just got to give them a home, and you're like, why is this in the dollar box? Why is this in the dollar box? Look at the shape of this. This is a classic book. And this is one of those books because I grew up with Wonder Woman around, if you collect comics and stuff. And a lot of people brag on, I think it was Brian Azzarello or Greg Rucka. It's Sunday morning, man. I've been sick. Yeah, so, you know, still drinking my coffee. But the DC 52 Wonder Woman got a lot of high praise and stuff like that. But for me, and I got to tell George Perez at HeroesCon that I don't think anybody's ever touched his Wonder Woman. So I ended up getting an upgrade. I've still got my Wonder Woman #1 that came out, I think it was 86, 87. And 87, this was sort of starting Wonder Woman over after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And this thing is mint condition. I mean, there's one rounded corner on the back, and it just blows my mind. I mean, check out this wraparound corner. But to me, nobody has ever touched George Perez and Len Wein's Wonder Woman. This is a fantastic origin issue. Sets up everything, brings us into Greek gods, fantastic art, Hercules, everything. It's just so good. So yeah, I'll grab that, and of course, you know, I'm gonna give it a home, and who knows, maybe it'll be worth something with the Wonder Woman movie coming up. I haven't looked it up. Who knows? But to me, this is the best Wonder Woman. And I think the first, I don't know, 12 issues of this run was just fantastic. I ended up picking them up again. Now, of course, I had the ones left over. Saw a couple of videos when I was playing around Friday night when I was sick, and I'm not sure what's going on. I want to say Morrison was showing a bunch of them, but I don't know if they have announced movies for old Valiant comics from the 90s and the Jim Shooter years and stuff. But I've seen a lot of them pop up. Solar, Magnus, some of this stuff was licensed through Gold Key, so Valiant will not be able to add them ever to their line and stuff unless they get the licensing back. But I picked up this. I haven't checked to see if it had the coupon. A lot of these early Valiant books had coupons that you could collect and cut out and send away to get a rare 0 issue or something. So if these Valiant books, the ones that had them, do not have the coupon in, you know, the value goes down quite a bit apparently. But I've got, this is probably like my 3rd issue of this stuff, but I love this early Valiant stuff. I was actually working in a comic book shop part-time and working at Hardee's at part-time too, when Valiant was really starting to kick around Unity and stuff. So I was able to pick up a lot of these back in the day, and I found them here and there. But this is what gets me. This box that I got this out of, all these books are like mint condition. I don't know if they've ever been opened, and it's surprising because they're not bagged and boarded. So how these have survived, I have no idea. The early issues came with trading cards inside also. So, you know, I got to do a little research, man. I really kept up with it. I mean, I bought my stuff off the stands. And then a couple years ago, the last great thing that I think DC really did, not counting the Rebirth that everybody is loving, and I've only read 4 issues from the Rebirth, and they were really good. DC's Rebirth, new relaunch. But, I mean, it just blew my mind they came out with 52 because they finally got it right after a long time, was the Blackest Night, the Green Lantern's Blackest Night event that happened. And the villain in it was Necron. Necron was kind of a throwaway villain from like 1980, I don't know, 1981. And he was the main villain in that story. He was the one that was behind all, bringing back the dead with the Black Lanterns and stuff. So for a couple of years, I was running around carrying this 3-issue miniseries, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, that was worth nothing. So all of a sudden, Blackest Night comes out. Somewhere along the line, somebody stole the first issue, the first appearance of them, and I was pretty pissed. Well, I ended up finding this, you know, for less than $1, and I was like, yes, felt justified. So yeah, I have the first appearance of Necron to add to my what should now be a complete set of all the Blackest Night events, Blackest Night books, along with the crossovers. I'm really glad to get that. And then again, we come back to like maybe the nostalgia and stuff. One of those things where you see these books that are like, everybody should have this. You know, why is this in here? Why has nobody grabbed this? You know, why have not the vultures picked this clean and stuff, man? But I could have got the first 6 issues, but, you know, I wanted that Spider-Man I showed beforehand. But this is like my 3rd or 4th copy. And these are beautiful copies, man, of Crisis on Infinite Earths #1. I don't think I have to really go into it. Of course, this is more great George Perez and stuff. You know, the beginning of the end of 50 years of lackluster continuity to make one world and stuff. Yeah, just fantastic. Crisis on the Infinite Earths is so good, considering it was like the first time anyone had ever tried this. There's been so many events in comics since then and crossovers and stuff. It's kind of hard to, you know, remember. You need to go back and see how you did this. And for Marv Wolfman to do this book and all the work, they worked 5 years on it before they got it out, planning it and getting with the editors and stuff and trying to make sure it wasn't a mess. But it was 12 issues, and he was a genius. After reading it a couple times over the years, he did it in 3 parts. It was Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. The first 4 issues are its own story, I think. The middle 4 issues, and then the last 4 issues, it was like 3 arcs. Genius. All the characters in it, just one of those loves of mine. I can just go back and just look at the art. Seeing George Perez take on Jack Kirby characters for the first time blew my mind because of how their styles are so different and stuff. So when issue 2 came out, this is like my 2nd or 3rd copy, and he had Commandy in it. And, you know, seeing George Perez do Commandy, I saw George Perez do OMAC in a DC Comics Presents years before that stuff. So I've always had a thing about seeing George Perez get a hold of Kirby characters. Freaking love it. But yeah, this is a great issue. And then again, this was the one where, you know, after I bought it and went through my bag and stuff, issue 3 was in the back of the board. So I felt kind of weird about that. I mean, it's a freaking $1. I'm not going to steal books, you know, but I don't know. There's so much going on. You're going through all these boxes and stuff. It happens. Now I got this. I can't believe I got this for the condition it's in, but it's kind of cool to have and kind of cool to find. If anything, I can like, you know, just say I have it, you know, it's a novelty piece, but this has mildew on it, and somebody just wrote 3/29 on it. So I guess that's the date that's been on the stands, but I got a beat up mildewed copy of G.I. Joe #1 from Marvel Comics. You know, you can see the mildew stains. I'll have to do something with this. It's not that, the smell is not that bad, but of course the mildew goes all the way through it here and there. But yeah, got a G.I. Joe #1. You know, that's just a something to talk about. You know, it's kind of like, look what I got. It's a little novelty thing. I'm not taking it serious. And then like I remember in the early 90s when I was collecting, you know, comics, and that was when I was still sort of getting them off the stand mostly, and maybe I could get to a actual comic book shop maybe 2-3 times a year and get to go through some back issues. But I remember when I was able to really get to a comic book shop and stuff, and get around a lot more as I got older and had a car and all this stuff. And early 90s is when the Silver Age, at least around here, the Silver Age books were really drying up. And there for like about 3 or 4 months, every comic book shop I hit, you know, in driving distance, they were all like, man, the Silver Age stuff is drying up. So I'm kind of feeling like even though in the 80s they had larger print runs and stuff, these comics and stuff, kind of getting the feeling that maybe down the road, why not? You know, history can repeat itself, I'm guessing here. So I picked up an X Factor #1. I've just got this feeling that somewhere on the line with, you know, Marvel killing off mutants and shipping them off to another planet and all this stuff, I'm kind of wondering if that pendulum is going to swing back one day, and maybe some people will want their mutants back in their comics. Who knows? But I got an X Factor #1. This was a sort of a pretty cool event because of Jean Grey coming back. They had John Byrne touched it, and Avengers touched it, and a little 2-part crossover that kind of led into this about finding Jean Grey. It worked into the continuity of the Phoenix saga. First appearance of X-Men in 101, it kind of, was it 101? Touched on that. The first appearance of Dark Phoenix, whatever it was. So yeah, I got another copy of this. Jackson Guice, Butch Guice did a fantastic art in this. You know, it was really cool, man. It was really cool. Everybody was getting this. You had West Coast Avengers coming out at the same time. You had a lot of Marvel #1s coming out around this time and stuff, I think. You know, I remember a lot of that. I also remember Tony Stark. I was excited because around Iron Man 200 or something, you know, he got the Silver Centurion armor. I mean, there's like a lot of little changes going on. Everybody's really getting excited about it. I was in middle school when all this stuff was coming out. So this is like my 2nd or 3rd copy, and I'm pretty sure I still got the copy that I got off the stands. All right, and then this is a book that was really hot. It's really interesting because I think it was New Mutants 89 or something, shooting off of memory here. It was first appearance of Cable. And with the Deadpool movie ending the way it did, saying that Cable was going to be the next Deadpool movie, love him or hate him with Rob Liefeld, but to me, in comic book history, when it comes to Cable, the actual character of Cable, to me, that is the character that ushered in the 90s. However you want to say it. I think Cable is a more important comic book character historically than Deadpool. You know, Deadpool's the one that's, you know, real popular. And Louise Simonson does not get the credit for what she did with Rob Liefeld's creations. Let's put it that way. I don't think Cable and a lot of Rob Liefeld's early stuff on New Mutants would have went anywhere. I think it would have went the way of Youngblood and his stuff he did at Image. It wasn't for Louise Simonson. Her writing and stuff needs to really be praised, but Cable got really hot there for a while. Even had it was one of the first books I saw get a 2nd print that I can recall. I'm sure there was others before it. So anyway, I sat there and they had this big thing where who is Cable? He was from the future, and you know, he was just like super violent and had the big guns, and his head got smaller and his body got bigger with, you know, his little vest and his guns and his spikes, and it just got ridiculous. But he ushered in the 90s, in my opinion. And then there was like a little thing going back and forth, like, what's his real first appearance? Because they ended up finding out that he was Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, or Jean Grey's son or something like that. So they go back to X-Men 201 where we see the baby. It had to be Madeline Pryor. We see the baby in here. All right. This goes back before his first appearance in New Mutants, I think. So they're saying this was the real first appearance of Cable because this is where they showed Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor's baby. You know, so there you go. So I got an X-Men 201. This was a really hard book to find for a while. And this thing got hot pre-internet. You know what I mean? Like everybody's going after this big boy. So yeah, I got this just because I have one copy. This is an upgrade. And I'm like, yeah, we'll take it home. And now for you guys that are sticking around, I got 2 more books here, but I'm not going to blow you away. But who I met at this little comic book convention, there's a book called Back Issues. And it's like a fanzine. It's comic book nostalgia, and it's by Tomorrow's Publishing. And Tomorrow's Publishing puts out a book called Alter Ego by Roy Thomas that covers Golden Age and Silver Age books. And Mike Eury, who does the Back Issues magazine, says that he has like a gentleman's agreement with Roy Thomas that he will only touch bronze and more modern stuff or something. And Mike Eury was an editor, and he did a lot behind the scenes from what I gathered. We had this great conversation. He was with Kamiko, and then he was on at Marvel, then he was on DC, and I'm a Legion of Superheroes fan. And we ended up having this great talk about comic books. I got answers, behind the scenes answers about what Keith Giffen wanted to do with more about what Keith Giffen wanted to do with the Legion, which for me was like, I knew it. I was right about things. If you read the book, during the 5 years later comic, the adult Legion found a legion of superheroes that was like still the teenager Silver Age versions, and it went back and forth on who were the clones. Is it the young Legion that are clones or the adult Legion? I guessed right. It was the adult Legion that were clones of the original. Yeah, that's right. Your mind just was like, what? You know, and all this stuff. But anyway, found out that Justice League 3000 was an idea 25 years ago. You know, and that comic came out, what, about 2 years ago or something like that. So got a lot of behind the scenes stuff, got a lot of great stories about Gil Kane. And Mike Eury worked on Elementals, so not only did he, I had him sign my books, but he does it old school. He signs inside the book. And I got some Kamiko stories about behind the scenes stuff. His wife Rose was there. She was awesome. He told me the story about trying to follow John Byrne on this after his run on She-Hulk. He said that was pretty rough. He signed it, and he signed it old school. And the stuff that he's written through Two Mars Publishing, I think he's got like this, a lot of Silver Age Superman companions for the Fortress of Solitude, or for that Silver Age World of Krypton. He had a great book that I'm going to try to find, History of Monkeys and Apes in Comic Books. I was flipping through that, and I'm a monkey guy. You know how that goes. So meet Mike Eury, and it was like you talk about, we had the same interests, the same books, Legion, superheroes, and had quite a few stories. We talked about secret crossovers in comic books, like the Rutland, Vermont secret crossover in the 70s, DNA agents crossing over with Teen Titans, and nobody realized it. A lot of stuff. He's like, oh, so you know this, you know that. And it was really fascinating. And I got to hear about comic book creators who were couples, married and stuff, behind the scenes, how they would fight in front of people, and got to hear old Randy Bowen stories, the guy who makes the sculptures. If you're into the the hobby and stuff like that, he's throwing out names that were just fascinating and stuff. We're going back and forth. But what got him with me, which the thing I really saw light up with him, was when he said he'd interviewed Dave Sim. He was showing me some back issues. I mean, he was still trying to sell his magazine, but he was showing me all these issues with who they interviewed in this book and who they interviewed in this book and the behind the scenes stuff. And he brought up one about Cerebus, and I was like, what's Dave Sim really like? And I whipped out my pages. That's what he loved. I had my comic book list I needed, and it was on 5 or 6 pages, and it's wadded up in my pocket. And he went, oh my God, you're old school, and you don't have, an act for all this stuff, man. I love that. I love that, So I think that's kind of what got the guy talking even more and stuff. But he was really nice and stuff. And of course, I'm sitting here, and I'm like I said, I had this fever at the comic book convention, and it was really one of those things where I saw Ben, can't think of his channel name, saw a fellow YouTuber, but then there's other people that recognized me from my channel, man. And I want to apologize to you guys if I was just sort of spacing stuff, but man, I did not feel good and had a lot on my mind, and still out there. So basically it was a great comic book convention. I was really glad I went. Met Mike Eury, who was like an editor and stuff, and got a lot of behind the scenes stories, the stuff that I love, the actual, behind the scenes comic book history, and that I call it and stuff. Got some great behind the scenes Legion stuff, which is just cookie cutter made for me. Just met some great people, a lot of good deals, and saw a lot of people there and stuff. So yeah, one of those things where I'm glad I still got off my butt and went down there to make it. And I think today I've got some stuff to do, and I'm going to keep my mind off some stuff, and may put some books on eBay for you guys. So if I upload another video tonight or something like that, I work a lot during the week, so I try to get a lot of these videos out and stuff. So I may do another live show tonight, depending on what I get done today. So, all right, guys, that's it for now. Thanks for everybody that came in viewing. Really, if anybody wants to volunteer to help me with one of these and jump on here and just talk sometime, but I can't get comments to work on this when I'm on here. You know, I'm hoping this whole stream actually worked. You know, I've been watching a lot of live streams, seeing how theirs go, you know, trying to take notes on how to do this one better, just trying to make it work. And I've seen a lot of live streams where they're having problems seeing comments, and a lot with the audio and video syncing up. So I thought it was just my crappy internet, or I thought it was my crappy computer, and it turns out it's a Google issue. So just kind of live with it. So, okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Great hearing from you guys. And if you want to make a call it a wrap, if you do want to check out my eBay, if I get some books on there tonight and stuff, I am Scarab2, SKARAB number 2. And if you go to my channel page, there should be a link in my header, whatever it is, you know, to my eBay page. So hopefully I'll get some stuff on there tonight. I've been meaning to do it for like 2-3 weeks. All right, guys, later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and catch you later.